Hey guys, this video is going to be the inside and out tag that was started by MathomBooks, but before I get started on that, I want to mention something else really quickly. Obviously, my face is still incredibly swollen from getting my wisdom teeth out 2 days ago, and I know I look kind of ridiculous, and I'm still on prescription painkillers and everything like that, and I have a ton of stuff I need to do before we leave for Florida on Monday, but in spite of all of that, I'm having a pretty freaking awesome day because, and I have to mention this really quickly before I do the tag, yesterday something started really bothering me, and it's been bothering me for a while, but earlier today I was on Tumblr and seeing this stuff, and I just had to write the Tumblr post, and I was gonna make it a video, but then I decided because my face is swollen and it was a rather serious topic that people probably couldn't take me seriously with my face this swollen, I wrote a Tumblr post instead. And I don't have very many followers on Tumblr, so I sent it someone who has like a bigger blog on Tumblr asking if they could post it to let people know about it, and it has like 70 notes right now, and that's not a lot, but way more than I was expecting, and everyone's being incredibly nice about it. However, the fact that people are being nice kind of defeats the purpose, because the whole entire point of the post, like I'm trying to get across, if people are completely agreeing with me are obviously not the people who need to see the post. And the post is titled "Why Calling One Direction Gay Isn't an Insult." I think that's pretty self-explanatory on what it's about, but it means a lot to me because it's a very big deal to me. And so I'm going to leave a link to that Tumblr post down in the description if you would please check it out, especially if you're a One Direction fan, and just spread the word because to me, it's a very big deal, and I think it needs to be said. And like I said, so far everyone's been really nice about it, but that's because they agree with me, and it's the people who don't agree with me who really need to see the post. So yeah, now on to the actual tag and what the point of this video actually is. And by the way, I will also leave a link to the original Inside and Out tag video in the description as well. The Inside and Out tag is basically an acronym, and each letter stands for a different question. So the question for I is inside flap, back of the book summary is too much info or not enough. And I usually don't think it's too much. Occasionally I'll read one that I think gives away too much, but most of the time I think it's okay. Although I don't usually read them a whole lot. Well, I do. I usually read summaries. Most of the books I buy now, not so much in the past. I would actually read the back of the book in the past, but now most of the time I find out about them online and from book reviews, so and that's how I choose which books I want to buy and stuff, so I don't really read the back of the book or the inside flap as much as I used to, but when I do, usually I don't think they have too much information. And N is new book. What form do you want it in? Be honest. Audio, ebook, paperback, or hardcover? I'm going to say paperback. I do have a Kindle now that I really like because it's convenient, but I still prefer paperback books. I like having the Kindle because it's easier to carry around, and you can carry around more books. And going into college in the fall, I'm obviously not going to, I'm going to be in a dorm and only have limited space to keep books, and secondly, I'm not going to have much money, and it's cheaper to buy ebooks. But I still prefer the paper books. I've never been a huge fan of audiobooks because I like reading the book at my own pace and imagining the character on my own and all of that. And I like hardback as well, but paperback to me are just easier to read, and if I have a hardback book, I'm usually a lot more worried about it getting messed up, and then you have like the dust jacket and stuff that gets bent up. So overall, I just prefer paperback. And S is scribble while you read. Do you like to write in your books, taking notes, making comments, or do you keep your books clean? Tell us why. I never write in my books. I'm really picky about my books being taken care of. This goes back to the whole hardback paperback thing. For some reason, I don't know if it's because they're more expensive or why, but I'm way worse about my hardback books being torn up. I don't like breaking the spine on my hardback books, and I'm just really picky about them. Paperback books, they get torn up easier, and therefore it doesn't annoy me as much when they get torn up, but I still like keeping them as nice as possible, and so I don't like reading in them. Since I do review books, like on my blog and on this YouTube channel and stuff like that, I do sometimes write down notes. It depends on the individual book, like how much if I think I can remember something when I'm writing the review. If there's something I really, really want to mention in the review and I don't think I'll remember, then I'll write it down, and I have a separate notebook that I use to write down that stuff, and not just that stuff. I write down notes for like all of my blogs and videos and various other things in there, but I use it to write down notes about certain books sometimes. But I don't actually write or highlight or anything in my actual books because I like keeping them clean. Just, I don't know why exactly, that's just how I am. I is, in your best voice, read us your favorite first sentence from a book. I don't really know the first sentences of books that often. The only one I can really think of, like the only first sentence I know off the top of my head is from Harry Potter, the first book. But I watched Kayley, I'll have a link to her channel, I'll say who, down in there, except it wasn't on that channel, it was on her book channel. But anyway, I'll have a link to her down in the description as well. But I watched her do this tag, and she did Harry Potter, so I don't want to do Harry Potter as well. So I was thinking about which book to do, and I decided to do The Witch of Blackbird Pond by Elizabeth George Spear, because this is one of my favorite books, and I don't hear about it that much. It won the Newbery Medal, and I read this in school in 8th grade and loved it so much that I had to go and buy my own copy. I love it, and obviously it got some recognition, but I don't hear about it that much, and it's one of my favorites, so I decided to choose it. But the first line isn't incredibly special, but I'll go ahead and share it anyway. On a morning in mid-April 1787, the brigantine, I don't know if I said that word right, Dolphin left the open sea, sailed briskly across the Sound to the wide mouth of the Connecticut River and into Saybrook Harbor. Obviously, the book starts off on a boat. It's not incredibly, it's not the best first sentence ever, but I think it's good, and I love this book. It's about witch trials. It's an old woman where she lives gets accused of being a witch, and but Kit, the main character, has befriended this woman and knows that she's not really a witch, and then because of her friendship with her, and just because she's from Barbados and has just moved to Connecticut, and everyone regards her as being really weird, so they start thinking she's a witch as well, and that is what it's about. And D is, does it matter to you whether the author is male or female when you're deciding on a book? What if you're unsure of the author's gender? It really doesn't matter to me. I tend to read books that, most of the books I read have female narrators, and I don't do that on purpose. Those just tend to be the books I gravitate to more, and I think it's because I relate to females, obviously, being a girl myself, so I think that has something to do with it. But as for the author itself, it really doesn't matter. And like, Harry Potter is my favorite book ever, and obviously that has a male narrator. So I read books with both narrators, and I read books by both authors, and I know a lot of female authors who can write really great from the male perspective, like J.K. Rowling, and some males who write really, realistic and really well from the female perspective. One example being the Uglies trilogy by Scott Westerfeld, which has a female narrator but is written by a guy. And so it really doesn't matter to me. I tend to pick up female narrator books just because I relate to that, but I also love books with male narrators, and the author really has nothing to do with anything for me as long as they write well and have a believable narrator. And then for E, it's ever read ahead, or have you ever read the last page way before you got there? I used to a lot when I was little. For some reason, when I was younger, maybe like before 10 years old, probably, I read the last page or the end of the book all the time because I always wanted to know how it ended, and I wasn't patient enough to get there. As I've gotten older, I've stopped doing that. I still look ahead a lot in like non-fiction books, like stuff where obviously there's no point, and like I'll look ahead and see what it's going to be about, like each chapter or whatever. But as far as fiction books go and things that actually have like a story, I've gotten really good at not looking ahead. One thing I do a lot is I'll often look ahead to see how many chapters are in the book, because for some reason I just like knowing how many chapters I have left to read. So when I'm looking for the last chapter, sometimes I'll see stuff in the last chapter, like if that makes any sense at all, and I hate when that happens. But I don't usually read ahead anymore, especially if I'm really enjoying the book. If I get bored with the book, or I think the book's really predictable and I can pretty much see how things are going anyway, I may look ahead to see if I'm right. But for the most part, I don't look ahead anymore, although I used to a lot when I was younger. And that was the end of the word inside, and now we're on the word out, So for O, it's organized bookshelves or outrageous bookshelves. I've shown my room in quite a few videos before, and I don't really have a bookshelf. I have some shelves up on that wall back there that have books on them, and then I have some like kind of shelves in my closet. I have one actual small bookshelf in my closet that's pretty much full, and it's all books that I've had when I was like younger. None of my recent books that I've like gotten are on there. It's all books that I bought basically from like 10 to 15. And then I have two bigger shelves in my closet that have just books like thrown on them along with a ton of other stuff, and then I have boxes full of books in my closet, and I have stacks of books out here and on my dresser and just everywhere. I don't have enough bookshelves to hold all of my books. So my books are pretty much just piled in my room wherever I can fit them. I really need new bookshelves that I can organize neatly, but I mean, I don't even have bookshelves for all of my books, so they're definitely not neat. And then for you, under oath, have you ever bought a book based on the cover alone? Not that I remember. Of course there's been times where the cover has caught my eye and what made me look at the book in the first place, but I always read it and find out what it's about before I buy it and spend money on it, because I want to make sure I'll enjoy it. When I was younger and not in the book community online as much, sorry, my mom just came in, but when I was younger and not involved in like the online book community as much, and I didn't know like these books are coming out now and all that, and wasn't reading book reviews, I would go to the bookstore and I would want to buy pretty much every book there, so I would have to be really picky in deciding which book I was going to buy, and so I would always I would sit there forever trying to decide between books, and so I definitely didn't just pick them up based on the cover. I read them and figured out which ones I would like the most and all of that. Now I usually decide what books I want to buy based on book reviews that I read online. So I may like be looking at blogs or something and see like a picture of a book cover and like, oh, that looks really interesting. And I'm not gonna lie, there are times where like if I'm going through book reviews and I don't have much time, but I want to look through certain book reviews, I'll read the ones that the book cover of the book captures my attention, and then I read that review. But I never pick up a book just based on the cover. I always read what it's about. And then the last question, T, take it outside to read or stay in? I usually read inside. I constantly think I should go outside and read because it's nice outside today, and then it never happens. I think a lot of that is probably because of the computer. Even when I'm reading, I still am usually on Twitter or Tumblr, but at least Twitter. And so, yeah, I'm a bit addicted to the internet. So I usually think that I could go outside, but then I never end up doing it. And most of the time, whenever I think that, it's either too hot outside or too cold outside. Like, it's been over 100 here for like the past month almost. So I haven't been going outside much at all, because as soon as you walk outside, you're breaking a sweat. But during the spring and the fall, when it's like really nice outside, I just never think to. Also, it doesn't help that during the spring and the fall I'm at school and obviously doing homework and everything. By the time I get to the point where I'm reading during the school year, it's usually dark outside. So I usually read inside. And I'm not going to tag any specific people, but if you're watching this and have any interest at all in doing the tag, then I encourage you to do it. And I will see you guys later.